And talk. I got it. Okay. Well, first of all, I want to introduce myself because there are some faces I don't recognize. My name is Allie. I am Janet and Artie's daughter, their youngest daughter. I grew up here. Like my first Sunday of life was probably up in this nursery. Went here all through high school. Went through the Awana program when it was like first started. Went through all the VBS, all of that kind of good stuff. So I'm very, very connected to this church. I live in Virginia now. After college, I got a job down in Virginia teaching math at a local high school, which is actually very similar to Blue Mountain. My students don't believe me that there are country schools up in the north, but there really are. And so I don't live here anymore, but I am very, very grateful for the support that this church provided for me. About 75% of my support for this missions trip came from this church, and I'm so incredibly grateful for that. Little introduction of the team, just in case I mention names. That's me, obviously. Next to me, her name is Brittany. She is an elementary school teacher in the same district that I work in, not the same school. Next to her is Chase, who's actually our team leader. He does not live in Virginia. He lives in North Carolina, but he's a sports outreach staff member. So he was kind of our coordinator on the trip. He was the one that making sure we went to the right villages and didn't get lost and didn't get food poisoning and didn't drink any water and made sure we didn't die. Next to him is Craig in the green shirt. He is he goes to Liberty University, which is where I went, and he is a med student, so he actually was really helpful on the trip. Anytime we had like medical issues, we went to him. Next to him going back is Alex. Alex is a band teacher at another high school down in Virginia. His wife, if you skip a person, is Nicole. Alex and Nicole planned this entire trip. They basically kept getting signals and signs that they should go to Uganda through sports outreach, and finally they just were like, all right, let's do this. And Nicole worked with me at a high school where I teach for 3 years. She doesn't teach there anymore. But we were hanging out one afternoon last summer, and she was like, hey, I'm going to Uganda. And I was like, can I go? So they are the heart and soul of this trip. They're the ones who really put everything in motion. Person we skipped in the white is Amy. She's a physical therapist in Roanoke, which is about 45 minutes from where I live. She was also very helpful with medical knowledge. Anytime we were sore from our many activities, we're like, how do I fix this? What do I stretch? So she was really helpful as well. And then the last person is Matt. Matt is actually a police officer, which is a big deal in this culture because similar to where our culture is headed right now, police are not favored. So for him to go and be very bold about saying, I am a police officer, was an incredible ministry. It was great for those people to see, oh, hey, police do good things. So he was a really great aspect of the trip as well. So that's our group. Alright, so this is a verse I actually read on the plane coming back. I was typing up a reflection on my trip. So I was like, okay, I have 17 hours on this plane. I might as well get all my thoughts down on paper before I forget everything. And this is a verse I came across. It's in 2 Corinthians 9, 6 through 11. Remember this, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows generously will also reap generously. Each of you should give what you have decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. And God is able to bless you abundantly, so that through all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work. As it is written, they have freely scattered the gifts to the poor, their righteousness endures forever. Now he who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food will also supply and increase your store of seed and will enlarge your harvest of your righteousness. You will be enriched in every way so that you can be generous on every occasion, and through your generosity will result in thanksgiving to God. The reason I put this verse on here is you all supplied the seed and the bread. You didn't actually go to Uganda, but you provided the support for me to go. So my goal this morning is to show you what you did, the results of what your support did. I will keep it short, I promise. I literally could go for 2 hours with this. I won't. I could, but I won't. If you want, we can meet up sometime this week, and I will give you the full version of this presentation. And I'm a teacher, so I really could talk forever. But I'll give you the short and sweet version of this. So the first thing I want to show you, this is Nicole. Again, Nicole, I mean, she's like my best friend, so I highly favor her to begin with. But she was the heart behind this trip. She's the reason we were in Uganda. So she thought it was really important to send you all a message. She wanted to thank you guys personally. So this is a little video. We'll see if the sound and everything works. But she kind of wanted to give you guys a little message.
Nicole, and I went on the Uganda trip with Elevation Roanoke that Allie Bear went on. And first of all, I just want to thank you for all the support that you sent in. Allie was telling us just how much financial and prayer support that you gave her, and not just her, but the whole team and the people in Uganda. So I just want to make sure that I thank you on behalf of the team. And your support went a really long way. We got to go to Kampala and Gulu. Kampala in the south first, the capital city, visit some slums and see what Sports Outreach is doing there. Their soccer and their chess academy is making such a huge difference for children. They're just being brought in by the ministry with those platforms, and Sports Outreach is able to care for them and see what they need and take them in and send them to school in some cases, which is a ticket in Uganda, which is amazing. And also then we went to Gulu, and Gulu is a much more rural area. Farming is the way of life, and the farm at Koro in Gulu that Sports Outreach owns is teaching people skills so that they can be profitable on their own, and using that as the platform to talk about the gospel and apply those metaphors to their everyday lives and teachings in church. And it was just really, really a life-changing experience. One thing that I wrote about in my blog post is just how genuine the people were and how much we can learn from them, because though they don't have many things, they look you in the eye, they shake your hand for a good 30 seconds, they'll be touching you while you talk, and they just prioritize you and a relationship with you over anything else, which I think is something we can definitely learn from in our very fast-paced, schedule-based society. And just big smiles, music everywhere. Every time we got somewhere, they would say, "You are most welcome." Not just "you're welcome," "we're happy to have you," but "you are most welcome." Just very prioritized. And though they don't have many things that make living comfortable or even healthy or bearable, they just get joy out of the right things, I think. And some of the harder stories we saw were children in the villages who were born into families of disease and just extreme poverty, and that's hard to wrestle with because it's not something that they chose, but them seeing us there, to them that was a miracle and gave them hope. So you sending us there gave them hope, which is an indispensable thing, not a tangible thing. It wasn't just food or clothes that wasn't going to last. It's something that they're going to remember. And so I think now we just all feel really compelled to tell their stories, especially the children. They're part of a sponsorship program that you can continue to support and help these kids go to school and get basic needs. And you can support Sports Outreach as well, or even go on a trip. We definitely are planning on going back. We don't know when or how yet, but these relationships are something we want to keep up. And just remember to keep praying and keep them in your thoughts and your prayers, and help us tell their stories, and that their stories would change people so that we can change the world together. So that's just a little snippet. If you have any questions, I'm sure Allie can answer them. And thanks for listening.
So she kind of did a brief overview of the trip. I'm going to go into a little bit more of what we did each day for as long as I can. I want to make sure that I save time to kind of give you the big picture stuff, but I think it's important for you to see what your support actually went into doing. So we left the U.S. on Sunday. Basically, it takes a day and a half to get there with flights and travel and all that. So we left D.C. Sunday night around 8 o'clock. Flew overnight with time change, very confusing. Didn't get there till Monday. I don't even remember at what time anymore because it was just such a blur. But we got to Kampala. Well, we got to Entebbe. Entebbe is the airport in Uganda, down at the bottom. We had about an hour drive after we flew into Entebbe to get to Kampala, which is where we started. So our first ministry day really was Tuesday, because Sunday and Monday were mostly travel days. Kind of brief overview of the day, mostly so I remember what all happened each day. We were in Kampala. We started the day by going to the Sports Outreach Ministry Center. They're building this resource center in Kampala. It's gorgeous. I have pictures I can show you guys then. Just the work they're doing there is fantastic. But we had a morning devotional with them. One thing that really hit me when we were doing it is there was one guy, he's giving his devotional, and then he does the awkward, so what do you all have to add? And very similar to in the United States, and here, no one talks. It's that awkward pause where everyone's like, I'm not talking. And I was like, oh, well, at least that's universal. Like, that's not just an American thing. Like, everybody is really awkward about talking, so that's at least comforting. But eventually he poked and prodded and got some people to talk about what he was referencing. And the whole point of that devotional was we were running a race together, or we're on a journey together. And, you need to prepare. Well, they use a soccer analogy because soccer is a big ministry for them. And he used the analogy of the soccer team is what wins the game, but your preparation influences the team. So you need to prepare yourself for the game, and then you as a team accomplish something. Relating that, obviously, to our walk with God. You need to prepare yourself, but as a church, we are a team. So that was really interesting, and it was a good way to start the week, because, I didn't know any of these people other than Nicole and Alex before starting this trip, and no one knew me, no one knew each other, and it was really important for us to have that team building devotional, because we were going to go through a lot this week, and we didn't really know each other, so we had to learn how to lean on each other really quickly. The rest of the day after we did the devotional, we had a clinic with Amy. She's a physical therapist. When we were planning the trip, they asked her to teach them some stretching techniques and different physical therapy stuff, because they were struggling a lot with knee and ankle injuries because they play soccer every day. That's part of their ministry. But they don't have the kind of medical system that we do. So they don't know about stretching before they go play soccer. They don't know about cool-down stretching. They don't know about taking care of their bodies. So they just use their bodies over and over and over again, and they just wear them down. So she did a little clinic. I have some pictures of that. We did a soccer game with them. I did not play. I was sick. I got really sick right before we left. I had this super bad chest congestion, and I could not breathe, and I was like, that's probably not helpful to go run around on a soccer field with African soccer players who are way better than we are. So I did not play, but I took pictures, and that was an important job. Then we took a tour of the resource center, and then we visited a slum. So go through. So this is the soccer clinic. This was with the sports outreach staff. So this was a way that we were pouring, not necessarily into the people of Uganda, but the people that are doing the pouring into. We were supporting the ministry already there in Uganda. And that's one of the biggest things of this trip, is sports outreach is not a group that goes in, hands out food, hands out Bibles, and then walks away and says best of luck. They are there. They stay there. This staff is in these slums and villages 24/7. They go in once a week to each of the slums. So they are really intentional about building a relationship with the community and giving them something sustainable, something that they can continue to use and grow. So we taught them, well, not me, Amy, taught them stretches and things like that. And we also brought them ankle and knee braces, and you would have thought we brought them like $1 million. They haven't had access to this. So now they're playing these sports, and they, one of the guy who's actually sitting on the floor, he hasn't been able to play for a couple of weeks because his knee is like completely messed up. If you like were able to look at his knee, it is super swollen. And he is one of the original guys that started the soccer ministry in Uganda. If you were here when I did the presentation back around Christmas, I want to say is when I did it, he was actually in that video. And he mostly just acts as a coach now because he can't play anymore. So giving him his ankle and knee brace might get him at least more mobile than he is. I don't know if he'll ever be able to play again because his knee is really shot, but at least he'll be able to walk better. Alright, so this is the soccer game. Again, my very important job of taking pictures. I was the person in charge of the blog, so I use that a lot as, oh, I can't go run around. I must take pictures for the blog. Have to have a good blog. By the end of the week, you'll see less pictures because I was like, all right, I'm in Uganda. I should probably participate in things. But this game I was not because they were really hardcore and that was scary. But they were very nice about letting us play. Some of the people on our team have played soccer, but not to their level. So they were very kind in not making us feel really bad. The term that is used for us over there is Mzungu. It means white. So we heard that a lot, Mzungu. So they were very nice to the Mzungus, letting us play with them and not making us feel bad. This is just cool down stretches. Again, not something they think of. And we know it's really important after you do a lot of exercise, you need to stretch afterwards so that your muscles aren't sore the next day. So it seems like such a little thing, but considering the fact that their ministry is soccer, it's huge for them. Okay. After we played soccer, we did a tour of the resource center, and what's really cool, and I realize you can't see it, is the little sign that's behind us actually says Elevation Church. The church I went through was Elevation. If you've heard of Stephen Furtick, that's the church that I went with on this trip. And they've been here before, and they built this building. So it was really cool to kind of be able to build on a foundation of what was already there. The guy in the middle is Robert. Robert is a rock star. I literally can't use any other word to describe him. He has such an incredible vision for the work of sports outreach in Kampala. I'll talk a little bit about this later, but if you have heard of the Disney movie Queen of Katwe, the trailer just came out. I highly recommend you look it up on YouTube because it is going to be such a great movie. But he is the start of the chess ministry in Kampala, and he is a major role in this movie. Now, he himself is not in the movie, but he was on every production of the movie. He was involved the entire way through. So, and I think in the epilogue at the end of the movie, they show his picture. But other than the fact that he's in the movie, that's not why he's a rock star. He has got an incredible vision. When he took us on the tour of the Sports Outreach Ministry Center, and you'll see there's a lot of stuff that still needs to be done. He didn't talk about if we get the money, if we get this, when. He was all, when this happens. And it wasn't like a kind of pretentious, like, oh, well, when this happens. No, he was truly confident that God was going to provide for them. The kind of ministry that he's established there in Kampala needs that kind of huge vision and incredible faith. So this is the work, they're building a chapel, but the chapel's kind of serve two purposes. If you look at the front here, there's like a little window. This is going to be where the pulpit area is, but here will be a kitchen behind it, so they're also going to use it during the week to serve meals to people in the area. So it's kind of a way of meeting both physical and spiritual needs. There is a church in a state that I don't remember at this point that is working on it. Like, they come every year and they build a little bit more onto it. But it's just really incredible to see that they only really opened this site about 5 years ago or so, and the work that's already been done is incredible. But once this is done, they will be able to serve a huge need in the community. The second thing that's really cool is they're building a chess academy. Chess has become a huge part of sports outreach. It started with soccer, it started with them bringing children in because of the soccer ministry, but it has evolved into also including chess, which is the whole story behind Queen of Katwe in the movie. But they started just building a resource center and then decided, hey, let's have a national certified chess academy for Uganda. So it started out being much smaller, and then when they decided, hey, let's meet a need for the whole nation of Uganda, it had to meet specific requirements. There has to be like a room. When they do chess tournaments, you go in and you can't leave because apparently there's this big thing where the chess players will go like take their smartphones and look up the moves that are happening and then use it to cheat. So they have to have these like special rooms where like they can't have access to any kind of internet and stuff like that. And it has to be so big and like has to have so many bathrooms and all this kind of stuff. So basically what happened is this building that was almost complete now has to be added onto. And Robert was telling us they need about $40,000 more to finish it. And then they'll be able to host chess tournaments there, which is cool, but also brings people into sports outreach. So it's definitely a really great ministry platform. Okay, so then after we had the tour, rested a little bit after the soccer game, we went to the slum in Nateti. Basically, anytime a bunch of Mzungus go into a slum, you get this like entourage of children. Because they know that white people mean candy. And they were not disappointed. We brought bags of Dum-Dums. So this line is basically kids waiting for their candy. We also had stickers, which that's these like, I don't know if you can see it very well in these pictures, but like this kid's got like 3. They just wanted stickers and candy. So we had things we needed to do in there, but everywhere we went, we had these little kids following us around, which was kind of funny. Here, go to the next one. Also, they really like their picture taken, which is an interesting thing. Like, of course, kids like their pictures taken, but it kind of goes a little deeper in Uganda because they don't have mirrors or cameras or phones, so they don't know what they look like. So when you take their picture, they immediately turn that phone around because they know, and they want to see what they look like. And that's kind of something that hit me, in our culture, the selfie culture, where we're constantly looking at ourselves in the mirror, checking things, that kind of thing. They don't know what they look like, but they're just fine. They don't need to. But it was interesting. That's one of the big things. If you had your camera out, they were posing for a picture, and then immediately they wanted to see it. We also did a soccer clinic there. Each slum has its own soccer team, in addition to the sports outreach staff soccer team. So we did the clinic for the Nateti slum team as well, which was cool. Alright, so the first thing we did though, before we did the soccer clinic and handed out all of our Dum-Dums and stickers to like 10 kids, was talk to some of the students that have benefited from sports outreach's education system. Education, as Nicole said, is the ticket in Uganda. If you do not have an education, you are not going to be leaving your slum. It's not going to happen. So what sports outreach does is they help provide funds for some of the students in their ministry programs, some of the students that are in their chess programs, some of the students that are in their soccer programs, in order to go to school. So these 2 girls, the one without the tie on is the one, she's already gone through the program. She's actually going to university, which is incredible in Uganda. That's not something that's guaranteed. I feel like a lot of students, as a high school teacher, a lot of my students, that's the assumption that they're going to college. You go to high school, then you go to college. For Uganda students, not a guarantee. It's actually a huge privilege. Education alone is a privilege for them. The girl, her sister, the other girl wearing the tie, she is still in what we would consider high school, but she is looking to be a lawyer, if I remember correctly. And that was kind of interesting to hear. You talk to these kids, and you don't really expect them to have huge dreams like that, because they're getting an education alone is a struggle, let alone going and being in law school and all of that. But she doesn't have a small dream. She has a big dream. And that was really incredible and kind of challenging to see. It's like they have so little, but they still have such a big view of God. Like their God is so big that he can, even though they grew up in a slum, they could go and be a lawyer. And what's really cool is she didn't want to just be a lawyer. She wants to come back and be a voice for the people in her slum. So, and that was a repeated theme for all of the students we talked to, was they wanted to come back and take care of the people from where they came. So that was really inspiring as well. Big thing for me from this day was these kids think of education as such a privilege. Like it is so important to them. They were thanking us, even though we didn't really do anything, but we were representing sports outreach for them. They were thanking us for the fact that they got to have an education. Not everyone does. And that's something I know I'll take back to my students when they complain about having to get up and go to school. I'm like, well, you get to go to school for free. Like, you get this amazing gift to better yourself, and some kids literally don't get that, so that was cool. Okay, I'm going to go through the rest of the days faster. So Wednesday, we went to a juvenile rehabilitation center. There's no pictures with that because we weren't allowed to take any pictures because it's a government-run facility. But it's not like our detention homes, like here. It's actually, it's kind of, the kids are in trouble, some of them, but other kids have just been dropped off by their parents because they can't handle them anymore or they can't provide for them anymore. So the reason the kids end up there is kind of varied, but the purpose of this home is not to punish the kids, but to improve them. So they are very intentional about reaching out to the families of these kids and making sure the families come visit them and providing for them. And it's not like they're in cells, like they're in one giant room with all these bunk beds. But one thing we did notice is they didn't have mosquito nets. And as someone from America, being in Uganda for a week, mosquito nets are really important. The mosquitoes are really bad, and they carry a lot of diseases, and these kids don't have mosquito nets. So that was something that we saw. I was like, wow, this home is trying to do really good work for these kids, but they can't provide everything they need. So just like here, government funding is good, but it's not adequate to meet all their needs. So that was something to see. After that, we played some games with them. We did some devotionals with them. It was really a cool experience. We kind of got dragged into a room with 20 kids, and they're like, here, talk to them about Jesus. And I was like, oh, okay. So like I wasn't really prepared for that, but we just kind of said some stuff and hoped it made sense. We had about 5 kids who actually, I'm not going to say necessarily accepted Christ because there was a translator, I'm not really sure what happened, but I'm going to say they made some kind of decision, whether it was a recommitment or if they accepted Christ. Again, not really sure what was said. But that was exciting to see. So I wasn't really prepared for it. I was super nervous doing it, but it made a difference, and that was exciting. Okay. So after we went to the rehabilitation center, played some games, it was about 3 hours away from where we were, so we had a little bit of a drive back. We went to the actual slum of Katwe, which, again, if you haven't heard about the movie or the book, it doesn't mean quite as much, but basically there is a chess academy that was started by Sports Outreach in Katwe. And this girl, Fiona, who is the center of this movie, was walking by one day, saw them playing chess, and Robert, who you saw in the picture earlier, was like, hey, come on in, I'll teach you how to play chess. So she learns how to play chess, and she's phenomenal. Like, if you watch the trailer, you really see her progression, and like, there's a boy who's been under Robert's supervision for a couple of years, and the one kid saying to the boy, like, why are you letting her win? He's like, I'm not letting her win. So she's doing phenomenal. And Uganda has a national chess tournament every year, and the one year they decided to extend it to kids that are in the slums, like to pay for them, because obviously these kids cannot pay to go anywhere in Uganda and play chess. So they extend the invitation, they agree to pay for them. Fiona gets to go to this national chess tournament in Uganda. She crushes it, she wins the national tournament, then ends up going to Russia and becomes a world champion chess player. This girl from the slums of Uganda ends up being the greatest chess player of her age group in the world. The story got picked up by ESPN. One of the authors, he wrote what was supposed to be an article, turned into a book. The book has now been picked up by Disney. It's going to be a movie released September 2nd. What's really cool is a portion of the proceeds go back to sports outreach. So when it comes out, you should go see it. But more important than that, they filmed the movie in Kotwe. They filmed it, so when you go see it, the scenes are not like Hollywood movie set. It's in Kotwe. It's in Uganda. And I was watching the trailer last night because they put a new one out, and I was reading the comments, and people were like, "Way to make Africa look all impoverished," and that's not what all of Africa is. And someone, bless them, commented back, and they're like, "No, that's where she's from. That is Africa. It's not all of Africa." We went to a safari lodge at the end of the week. Certainly not all Africa. That was gorgeous, but it is a part of the African story, and it's just really cool to see that this is actually where she came from and what she was able to accomplish. While we were there, Craig, the only person who actually knew how to play chess decently, he tried to teach me for 3 hours on the plane, which was entertaining since we had 17 hours, but I did not. I did okay. I get how the pieces move, but I got really annoyed by the end of it because I was like, "Can this game be over now?" I was like, "Here, just take my king and queen. I don't even care." But he got to play with one of the guys who was one of the first students under Robert. Julius is his name. He actually was one of the students around when Fiona was learning to play chess. So that was cool. Craig did lose, but Julius did say that Craig put up a really good fight. So hopefully he wasn't just trying to make it feel bad. So while Craig was playing chess, we had some fun with the kids of Kotwe. Again, you bring out a camera, they are just totally excited. And the stickers came back out. But it was really fun just to kind of interact with the kids. The one, Matt, the police officer, was taking the kids and throwing them up in the air, and they were super excited about that. And it was really good for them because he explained what he was to them, and that was really good for them to have a positive image of that. So there's some more pictures of the kids. There's Chase, who is really short, if you can't figure that out, because those are kids and he's an adult man. But we made fun of him a lot for it. But he was taking pictures of them, and they just were totally loving it. This is a picture we took when we were done, when Craig and Julius were done playing chess, and we were done playing with the kids. And this kind of really captures what we did in Uganda. Our goal wasn't necessarily to go and build things or feed them or teach a VBS, which we did, but that wasn't the whole point. Those things are temporary. They're not going to last. We give them food that feeds them for a few hours, and that's it. Our goal was to build relationships with them, and by doing that, build a relationship between the people of Uganda and sports outreach. And that's really what we did in this Kotwe visit. Craig was building a relationship with the sports outreach staff, and we were building relationships with the kids, giving them a positive image, not only of sports outreach, but also of people from outside Uganda. So, really cool picture. That's all of our profile pictures right now. Okay. Thursday was actually kind of a boring day, if you will. We drove to Gulu, which is about 7 hours north. So Kampala's down in the south, Gulu's up in the north. Gulu's kind of close, maybe about a 2-hour drive from the Sudanese border. So I'm sure you've heard of Sudan and on the news a couple years ago. That's about where we were. But like I said, it was a long drive. We played Heads Up on our phones. We sang Lion King soundtrack. I thought it was fitting. I initiated that. They're like, "What do you want to listen to?" I was like, "Lion King, we're in Africa, we have to." So we had a Lion King sing-along, which was really fun. There's videos of that I did not bring with because they're not great. And once we got to Gulu, we were 7 hours on a bus, and then we dropped our stuff at the hotel, and then we went to the farm in Koro to kind of get a tour and familiarize ourselves with the area. So first, we crossed the Nile, which was super cool. That's the Nile. It was like, we were standing on the bridge, I was like, that's the Nile. And one girl goes, was this where Moses was put in the basket? And I was like, no, because that's Egypt, but it's the same river. But it was really cool. I'm not sure what I expected when I saw the Nile, but it was way bigger than, and really, really powerful. So that was kind of cool. And what was interesting is the bridge that we were on, you had to be really careful to not take a picture of the bridge itself, like the spans of the bridge, because it's a military strategic point in Uganda, because this bridge connects two major parts of Uganda. And if this bridge ends up out in the social media universe, people from other countries could know where the bridge is, but also know the dimensions of the bridge, and would be able to easily take it out. So they actually have guards standing along there, and you can't there's only specific points that you can take pictures. And they actually have cannons kind of on the hillside up here, so that if Uganda is under attack, they can blow up the bridge and keep whoever's attacking on that side of the Nile. So yeah, that was cool and scary all at the same time. Another picture of the Nile, and some baboons. They're just chilling on the side of the road. We're walking up to the bus because we got out and walked across the Nile, because who doesn't want to walk across the Nile? And then we saw some baboons. And my friend Nicole was actually super scared of them. I'm not really sure why. But they are not shy about coming up to people, because I guess a lot of people walk across the Nile. And they told us that if we had our cameras out, the baboons may come and try to take them. So I was super sly with my phone about it, but I was like, I'm not passing up an opportunity to take a picture of a baboon. But actually the baboons climbed on our bus. So our bus driver had to get his baboon stick, so obviously this happens a lot. And he chased it out of the bus, but it was interesting, and they were just chilling on the side of the road. So we got to the farm. The man in the picture is Aloysius. He's the pastor and kind of the Robert of the Gulu Sports Outreach Ministry. He's actually not from Gulu, and that's really important because he had to build relationships with the people in Uganda and in the Gulu area, and that was difficult because he wasn't from there. But once we kind of talk about it, you'll see how deep the relationships are with the people in the villages around Gulu, and so it's really impressive that he wasn't from there but was still able to make an impact. They do all kinds of stuff on this farm. We kind of talked about it being a picture of what heaven looks like, because they do everything. They are meeting literally every need of the people of Gulu. They have a piggery. And not only do they, breed the pigs, but then they give piglets to people in the community so that they can breed their own pigs. So the really cool thing about this farm is they don't just grow food and hand it out. They bring the people in and teach them how to farm so they can go do it themselves. So it's the whole, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. So they're very, very into that mentality, and it really shows. They also have cows and goats, which are cute, so that's why I put them there. Okay. Now, this is really cool. They have another piggery other than the one you saw the first, and they're innovating with how to house and raise these pigs. And one of the things they're doing is they're building these underground houses, I guess. I don't know what the term is. Pens is the word. For the pigs, and they're lining it with limestone and something else that I can't remember at this moment, so that they don't have to clean out after the pigs. The limestone and stuff absorbs the pig droppings and the smell, so they don't have to actually be cleaning it out all the time, because that's a huge job. And again, important for the people of Gulu to learn, because they are very busy trying to support huge families. They don't necessarily have time to go out and clean out after the pigs. So the innovation that they're doing is really cool. And what was neat is that Craig, our med student, was telling us that the techniques they're using bacteria and stuff to eliminate odor and stuff, is stuff he's learning about in med school. So, really cool. They're also doing lots of experiments with growing different things. Like they were telling us that they had banana plants planted in this one area, but the sun or something was affecting their growth, so they moved them, and they're experimenting with growing ginger and all this kind of stuff. So they're not just, like they're really dedicated to what they're doing there. And they want to make sure that they give the people something that they not only can teach can do themselves, but also the best possible way. So it was really interesting to see. Christine's house was probably my favorite part of the farm. I mean, I like farming, it's cool, but I don't farm, so I don't have a lot of background in that. Christine's house is a safe house for girls that have been abused or are otherwise considered troubled. Northern Uganda, which is Gulu, has experienced a 20-year civil war that only ended about 2010, so 6 years ago. And this was an incredibly violent war. They're still dealing with the effects of this. The girl who was kind of our guide in Gulu, Brenda, was telling us that when she grew up, bullets going through her house daily. She said it's actually a miracle that she's alive. And the violence has obviously affected the women of Gulu. It's just the nature of violence, and the culture in Gulu is that men are of elevated status. Like Brenda was telling us, when she grew up, she was never allowed to have chicken because the man gets the chicken first and the women don't get it. So I know that's kind of hard for us to swallow in our society, but that's just their culture. But it was interesting to see these really strong women, like Brenda and like the people at Christine's house, doing amazing work because they're considered second status. So really interesting to see the work there. I know this was going to happen. So really great work there, really impressive. If you've heard of the company Freedom 424, they're big in Lynchburg. I'm not sure if they're up here, but they actually do races to raise money for girls of sex trafficking. They donate to this house. So that was kind of cool because I did a lot of Freedom 424 stuff in college, so it was neat to kind of see that all come together. There's also a daycare. That's the picture. There's more pictures later. Okay, this is going to be the hardest day to summarize really quickly, but I got this. This was our, doing stuff day. Up until this point, we felt like we weren't doing a lot of tangible things for the people, but it was very important for us to be building relationships, and that was kind of hard for our American minds to get around because we're so we have to do stuff. And it was more important for us to be building relationships and being really intentional with people. This was our doing stuff day. We started in the morning making bricks. We taught a BBS some kids in the daycare. We actually made a meal with them, which I'm going to take a minute to talk about this because we were the first group, apparently, that helped cook. We didn't just cut stuff up. We went into the kitchen, outdoors, not really a kitchen. The hut with the fire in it is mostly what it was. We went actually in there with the women who were making the food, and we were Craig was down on the ground, blowing on the fire, trying to get it started. We were there, stirring stuff and just really being intentional with helping them, which to us wasn't a big deal, but apparently no group has ever done that before. And those women are considered really low, even in the sports outreach chain of leadership, because they're just making food and they're behind the scenes. So they were really blessed by us coming in and helping them, because that was something they're like, oh wow, these Americans who've paid $3,000 to come over to Uganda are going to come with us and help us. So that was really cool. Taught a dance class, the girls at Christine's house. I actually did that. I have not done dance in 8 years, but even though I haven't danced in a long time, I was the most qualified to do this. So definitely lovingly ripped off some Zumba moves from YouTube. But they liked it, so it was cool. And then my friend Nicole and her husband taught a choir class because they're music teachers. And then we visited another juvenile detention home. So Alex started the day by leading a devotional to the sports outreach team. It was really cool. He talked about how they are favored and talk about all the good things that they're doing, and that was really a big encouragement to them. This is going to be quick. We made breaks. It was hard. Really sweaty. That's a really great video that we don't have time for. We worked at the daycare. These kids are so cute. They're so stinking cute. They sang us a little song that we also don't have time for.
Sing it, sing it.
Okay, we can do like 30 seconds of this one. It's really hard not to make a little African child. I gotta get through. Okay, so we talked to VBS, we talked to the Armor of God. It was really cool. That was something that we kind of just planned, and we didn't really think about the fact that the country has been so war-torn, so that was actually very applicable to them because they are very familiar with war and war terminology. Another picture of the cute little children. So cute. We made lunch. We fed them. It was really cute. They played games, which was really funny because Bray and I did games at VBS this week, and we did this similar to this game, so that was kind of cool. We gave them wordless book bracelets, taught them the gospel using the wordless book, so that was cool. Oh, they're also wearing Chick-fil-A hats because we went to Chick-fil-A right before we left and told them what we were doing, and the Chick-fil-A down in Lynchburg was like, here's 60 cow hats, give them out in Uganda. So we did. It's hilarious. Yeah, so there's all the kids with their bracelets. We had bubbles. They love bubbles. Bubbles are universal. You get bubbles out, kids go crazy. So, bubbles. That's a video of bubbles. These are the teachers at the daycare. These are all the teachers on the trip, so we did a teacher picture. Okay. Alright, I'm going to cut it off here because there's a couple things I want to talk about at the end, so we talked some things. It was fun. Come see me later. We can chat. We went on safari. That's not the most important part. It was cool, but that's definitely not the most important part. Alright, so big takeaways from this trip for me is having a huge vision and letting God be a big God. God can do a lot. God's done a ton in Uganda with a ministry that has nothing. So we have so many blessings here. God can do so much bigger here. So that's one thing that I really took away. Also being very intentional about relationships. Even with the cashier at Walmart, every person you encounter, God has put there for a reason. Either for you to bless them or for them to bless you. So I've been very, as I've gone through my week, I've been really got to introduce myself to this person, be very intentional. I was walking out of Starbucks right before I drove up here, and there was trash on the ground, and sometimes, I just walk on by because I got things to do, and I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to be a good person, and someone may see it and think, hey, that's a good thing. And so I picked it up and walked it back in and threw it away. It's a little thing, but those little things, you don't know how far the ripples are going to go. This kind of goes along with that. Okay. One thing that really blessed me while I was on this trip is we went to church with them on Sunday, and the pastor, Aloysius, brought us up in front of the church, which happened all week long, and they're like, introduce yourselves, so we introduced ourselves. Then he threw a question at us we weren't really ready for. He was like, so tell the church, through a translator, how you serve the church in America. Like, okay. So I was fourth in the line, and I, down at my church in Lynchburg, do the slides and stuff for my church, I do lights and sound. Okay, how do I explain through a translator lights and sound to this church that is in this open air building? So I was kind of thinking through that. I was like, you know what? No. God kind of put in my heart that I don't just serve my church on Sundays. I serve the church by being a teacher who is loving and showing Christ's love to my students. So, first words that popped out of my mouth, totally Holy Spirit, was the church is not just what we do on Sunday, it's what we do every day. Who knew? Well, God knew that is the theme for that church for this year. After we introduced ourselves, Aloysius grabs me and he's like, stay up here, and I was like, okay. And I'm standing there and they're talking in Acholi, and I was like, I don't know what they're talking about. But I'm up here. And he talked about how the church needs to be more intentional about being Christians throughout the week. The pastor was telling me later after the service that a lot of them, put on a good show for Sunday, but then they go out and still sin and do really evil things during the week. So it was really cool to be used by God in such an impactful way, and it kind of told me, I was like, okay, so when God tells you those little things in your head, and you're like, no, it's awkward, it's inconvenient for me to speak up, it's like, no, God has purpose for you, you need to speak up. Other big thing that I can do in a minute, I swear, is the power of story. We were told before we went that it was going to be really important for us to have our testimony in kind of a short chunk, because we were going to be asked to give it a lot. And for me, I grew up here, Christian my whole life, Christian family, big Christian community. How do I relate this to Africa? I had some parts of my story that related to, the typical Christian teen struggle of, I knew about God, but I didn't know God really. And I was like, how do I relate that, though? I couldn't figure out how to relate that. So what kept coming to mind was these people have struggles, and they have grief, and they have things that impact them. And the only thing that I really have that is super tragic in my life, which you all know a lot about, is when Zach passed away in a car accident. He was one of my best friends, really impacted me, and through that whole time, and still, even now, 3.5 years later, God keeps telling me, there's good comes from evil, good comes from darkness, there's light from darkness. And so that was kind of the story I told them. Not really knowing, because I haven't seen a whole lot of light come from that situation, but I know that that's what God's been telling me, that's what's been my hope as I go through trying to deal with that grief. So 3 times during this trip, I told that story. The third time in each time, either students at the 2 detention homes and some of the women in the community of one of the villages we visited made some kind of decision about Christ. And the third time I did it at the one village, kind of hit me. I was like, there's the light. Something really sad that happened and really tragic, but from that, people have gotten saved because of me telling my story and telling his story. So I'm not going to get emotional, I'm trying really hard. But as our leader Chase told me, I need to zip up my woman's suit, put it all in. But I want to encourage you all, especially because that's something that affects our church a lot, is light comes from darkness. So even when you can't see the purpose, and it's not like I'm saying that it was a good thing that it happened, but God can do good with bad. So he can take something that's bad and do something good with it. So, to end on a happy note, if you are super jazzed about what Sports Outreach is doing, I am. I know I want to be involved with them as much as possible. They have on their website that you can come volunteer by answering telephones, and I'm like, well, I'm really bored in the summer anyway, so I might they're in Lynchburg, I'm planning on calling them when I get back and be like, hey, let me just do stuff because I want to be involved. There are a couple ways that you can be involved if you feel led to continue to donate to things like building the Chess Academy or helping the farm be able to reach more people, because they kept saying to us they do a lot of good, but there's so many people they can't get to. So if God is leading you just to help donate, the website looks like this. Hit the donate button. The rest of it's pretty simple. Tell the story. As you go through your week, tell people about what you heard today. Ask me more about it, and just tell the story of Sports Outreach. This is a really great ministry. A lot of times we donate to charities and we don't really know where the money goes, but I can tell you I know where the money goes. I've seen it. I've been a part of it. So this is definitely a good organization. There's the Empower Me sponsorship program. Really wish I could have talked about the kids' stories. But we got to meet 4 kids that are in these horribly tragic situations. They're orphaned. Some of them have HIV. But they have these huge dreams. Like the one little girl, she has HIV, like, which is usually a death sentence. She wants to be a teacher. Like, that hit me. So these kids have these huge dreams, and the only way they get to accomplish them is by people like you and me sponsoring them. $35 a month gives them food, and it goes specifically to the kid. Like, they go in once a week, and they give the stuff to the child. So it is definitely a good ministry to donate to if this is something you've been thinking about, like, hey, I'd like to sponsor a child. Excellent program to do it through. Queen of Conway movie, go see it. It's awesome. The trailers are incredible. The work they're doing. I really hope sports outreach is highlighted in it. I don't know if they will because it's Disney, and Disney has all their politically correct stuff. But you can watch it and know that the people behind that movie are sports outreach. Had a video clip. Obviously don't check that. And the other way you can help is come with us next time. We're definitely going back. We've talked about going back next year. I'm not sure if that's feasible, but we're definitely going back within the next 5 years. So if you feel led, come with us because it's a great time. Yeah, so that's this brief abridged version. If you'd like to ask me questions, love to show you more, talk to you more. But yeah, that's it.